I feel like I've missed something when it comes to FMA, and I say that because looking over what I've written down about it, I've kind of realised that this is quite a negative video. And I think that's because I can't really say anything positive that hasn't already been said. This anime has essentially dominated Mal for what, over 10 years? So just know that I didn't originally make this just wanting to dunk on it. On top of that, I should probably mention I'm probably not exactly what you would consider the target demographic for it too. I'm very aware that a lot of people initially watched Full Metal Alchemist when it originally aired, again, about over 10 years ago, and I'm sure I would have probably enjoyed it a bit more if I was watching this for the first time when I was 12 instead of 22. I've also managed to go this whole time pretty much without seeing any spoilers. Of course I've seen the odd clip here and there.
When it's just us, the Colonel calls me by my first name, Riza.
So you two are that close, are you?
I lied.
But that's pretty much it. So I guess I should probably ask, has Full Metal Alchemist lived up to the hype? For the most part, yeah, it did. A high 8 out of 10. Was it quite the masterpiece I was expecting? No, and I think that might be where I think I've missed something, as there's plenty of other lower ranked anime on Mal that I think I'd rather rewatch again. But it's still something I would consider to be a great show, and I can certainly see why it's considered to be one of the great shows. There are a couple gripes I've really struggled to look past. The series does fall victim to a lot of the anime tropes that do just piss me off sometimes. Especially the few and far between but very unnecessary moments of fan service that would just randomly come up sometimes. I also found Edward's character to be just really annoying sometimes. I get he's supposed to be the edgy protagonist that's a bit of a self-insert, but his tendency to just yell whenever there was a minor inconvenience just got fucking annoying, I'm not gonna lie. There were some slight tonal shifts I just wasn't really a big fan of. I really liked, however, how the anime wasn't afraid to show some of the more fucked up scenarios that could occur with alchemy, like what happened to Nina, as well as showing parts of the warfare that's actually going on in the story that maybe some other anime wouldn't really show. The world of FMA really does feel like Amestrius is a highly militarized country on the edge and recovering from conflicts, by really showing the effects that it's had on the country as a whole, as well as certain characters. It's made it feel like a bit more of an adult series by comparison. However, with all of that being shown, why did it sometimes just straight up feel like a kids show? Sometimes I felt like I was watching an episode of Avatar instead of an episode of FMA, and while that is a really good show in its own right, it is clearly a kids show. Or you could argue that FMA is a kids show. The juxtaposition between General Armstrong just shooting someone in the head to Eden L refusing to kill was just a bit jarring at times. Which, okay, slight tangent on all of that. I get this anime supposed to go more into the grey area when it comes to the kills in the show, and after being essentially orphaned, the only way to find a Philosopher's Stone to begin with was probably through the support of becoming a state alchemist and the military. But surely Ed wouldn't accept a commission into the military, into a position where he'll be, by definition, a human weapon, especially in a highly militarized country like Amestrius, where the chances of him seeing combat are probably actually relatively quite high. Look, I know that was like a tiny nitpick, but I just thought, considering how strong-willed Ed and Al were to not use a Philosopher's Stone to get their bodies back, and to not kill, it just kind of makes no sense. All of that aside, as well as some of the more normal anime tropes I'm not really a big fan of, I do genuinely think this is one of the more well-written anime I've seen. While the solution at the end was also kind of meh for me, there was a clear story with little filler, and it all flowed together quite nicely, even if I did think the runtime was maybe a little long, and 5 to 10 episodes probably could have been cut. However, I will say the first 4 episodes are probably some of the best introductory episodes I've watched. They do a key job of displaying the themes and basic backstory for our main duo, what they want to accomplish, and the rules for the magic system. These episodes demonstrate how alchemy can be used, what it can do, and its limitations, which made it one of the most grounded magic systems, and I liked how the interpretations of give and take in terms of alchemy evolved with the characters throughout the series. I think my favourite part of Full Metal Alchemist has to be the world building and the historical events that have inspired it. I should probably preface this by saying I haven't actually studied any part of history that well, and these are things I've purely just noticed as someone who has liked learning about this time period. Amestrius is very clearly lightly modelled after Nazi Germany. Their military dictator is called the Führer, and they have a non-aggression pact with definitely not the Soviet Union, who they're extremely suspicious and inevitably go to war with. They share border clashes with other nations to the west and south, and while watching I couldn't help but think that this tension was very similar to Nazi Germany between the late 30s up until mid-1941 with Operation Barbarossa. There are loads more historical references if you're looking for them throughout the show. I won't go through them all because this isn't a potential history video and I'd probably miss a lot of them. However, I do think a good example is the weapon systems that are obviously real life ones or have been inspired by real life weapons. Like I said, there are a lot more other references throughout the show and it's just really cool when you see one. I think the historical-ish backdrop also helps make other aspects of FMA seem more natural, as unlike some other anime with a semi-historical setting, the magic system has actually been well thought out and baked into the world building. I could go on and talk about how much I like the fights or other references I found, but you've probably seen the anime and you're already aware of how good it is. If you haven't for some reason seen it, please do. It's, like I said, for Metal Alchemist, it's probably about a high 8 out of 10 for me, because it is just a really good anime which, for the most part, has lived up to the hype. Even if I do feel like I have maybe missed something that would make it live up to it a bit more. There should probably be some more videos coming out sooner rather than later, so I'll see you guys then.